us to order. And everybody in. Fantastic. If you would join me for the allegiance, and this is a I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So for everybody listening, we do have and Donovan online with us, and we are waiting for every people to join us. So thank you for everybody in Zoom level today. So our first order of business is the recruitment strategy proposal. Bill?
Okay, thanks. So we've talked about this, I think, at a couple of board meetings leading up to this point where we were exploring some options to try to generate more interest in some of our open positions that, you know, that we really need to have going into the summer months. So we put together a strategy to try to fill the critical shortage vacancies that we have. And we've defined them as a district as the positions where we have a significant, where significant student interactions is a part of the job. Where positions have gone unfilled for more than 60 days. And where we've determined that we're subject to local labor market challenges that are seemingly insurmountable, but we have to take steps to try to address that. So that's kind of what we did. There is the state puts out and publishes a critical shortage needs list as well, and almost all of these positions that we're talking about are on that list, and there are some that are not on that list because those are not positions that we tend to have difficulty filling. So we've been selective about it. We have another way of saying that is we have a very district specific critical shortage list of needs that we have. So the actions we're talking about, applying different ways to special ed teachers, to relate all the related services positions, and then with respect to support services positions, bus drivers, as well as paraprofessionals. So we've kind of built a four-legged, we called it a chair the other day, I'm going to call it a table, just because the table's a little more sturdy, I think. So the first piece is signing bonuses, and what we're proposing is that we would offer unconditional signing bonuses for special ed teachers and all the related services positions in the amount of $2,000 and $1,000 for the support services positions. These would be paid at the time that an applicant accepts a job offer in writing. They would be retroactive to June 1st because we have had some interest and want to make sure that those folks have an opportunity to take advantage of this program. I should mention that everything we're talking about spending now has a kind of a drop dead date of September 1st. So our plan is to use ESSER funds for these bonuses. So that's the first leg of the table. Second is reassignment and transfer bonuses. And we spent a good deal of time trying to get to a reasonable number, in particular for special ed teachers. We had originally we were in a range from $2,000 or $3,000 for and this would be for someone who either voluntarily or involuntarily is transferred into a special ed teacher role. We had a pretty wide range from $2,000 to $10,000 that we were talking about. After thinking about that for a while, we thought let's try to get $5,000 net bonus in the hands of any teacher who is assigned or reassigned voluntarily or involuntarily. So we would gross that up to approximately $6,500. So that's what we're proposing for special ed teachers. All other employees who are reassigned to critical shortage positions would get a bonus that's consistent with the signing bonus. So we're paying those folks the same thing we would pay to bring someone else in from the outside. This got attention from the union. They had originally proposed, again, based on conversations we've had to go back at least a couple of months, they had originally proposed something like $2,500. Last week, we were able to get together with them and they have agreed to the $6,500 number that we're talking about, and that is in the MOU that Misty has distributed. So the third leg of the stool is referral bonuses, and this is kind of something that we probably should have had in place before now. Because almost every school district, I think, has some kind of a program where employees who are referring candidates who end up being hired are given some kind of a bonus. Our idea of structuring it is that once we interview someone that has been referred to us, the employee would get a $100 bonus for making a referral. If that candidate is hired, they would get an additional $400. So it's a total of $500. Again, these are monies that would apply to up until September 1st. This is a program I think we want to keep. So we want to evaluate what kind of action we get over the course of the next 2 months. Realizing the school's not in session, which is, I think, a challenge, but we're going to try to do everything we can to overcome that with communications in the next couple of weeks, again, assuming you're comfortable with what we're proposing. And then lastly, retention bonuses, we would pay only to currently contracted related services folks in the amount of $1,500. And we would pay them by September 15th. And they would be subject to repayment if the recipient resigns before the end of the school year. So that's what the table looks like, and I'm happy to answer any questions or clarify anything.
Yeah, and then I've got, that's the upgrade.
How many positions are we talking about in total?
So paraprofessionals is some number north of 10. We've always sort of carried that number of open positions throughout the year. Bus drivers is probably at least several, I think. There's 2 speech and language pathologists. I can't really.
I think we have 2 or 3 like full-time permanent bus drivers, and then we have some backup drivers, but I don't think that would fall into this calculation, so I'd say 2 or 3.
So 2 language pathologists, 2 speech and language assistants. I think it's 1 board certified behavior analyst, 2 student service coordinators, 2 school service counselors, and 2 school. So there's like 2 of each of these related services positions that we need. And then the special ed teachers is at least 2, if not 3.
Around 26 is
It was at least 20 with related services, and yeah, so it's in that neighborhood, probably between 25 and 30, given the recent turnover we've had among some of our paraprofessionals. So it's a big number.
So my concern about signing bonuses is that are paid out on September 1st, is that if somebody then left, they'd have that signing bonus to go away with. The same thing, could I say the same question for the MOA? Is there any way, given, I know we're using ESSER funds, so maybe this is what we can't. There's no way we can do that on a payment schedule, trimester, quarterly, something like that. It has to be.
It has to be committed and paid out
Well, I think
into September.
it raises a good point about, the sustainability of what we're trying to do here, because going forward, if we were going to do this, we would definitely claw back. Right?
Right.
This is just a one year cycle.
Right.
And we would modify the program
Mhm.
in order to claw back whatever we would need to if someone left before the end of the school year.
Okay, sorry for being a little late. I did read it earlier today. So just to understand, when you say there's 2, I left my papers in the car, sorry. 2, 1, 2, so 11 related services positions. Are those filled or unfilled?
They're unfilled.
These are all unfilled, these 11. So you're talking about $6,500 for those positions?
No,
Or 2,000?
6,500 is just for the special ed teachers.
Okay, so that's the 2 to 3.
And that's,
So have you costed this out?
isn't that only those that are being transferred?
That's a transfer box.
Yeah,
That's not a signing box.
Okay, do we have a number on that? Or you don't know because you don't know what you're hiring?
We don't, yes, we don't know what the uptake would be on that kind of a bonus to incentivize someone to, you know, to move forward. Would you have someone who's expressed an
Do
interest?
you know how many teachers you have on staff that hold the certification that allows them to move? So I just wanted, from a financial standpoint, I wanted a maximum exposure, right? Because if we say yes, because we have these funds available, like a gift from whatever, it may not be sustainable, right? And what budgets, what tax base, if we're gonna continue this, and what budgets are they gonna hit? And what's the ramification to the different tax bases? Right? Because they're not all, I don't know, are all the related services positions in the methods?
So, yes, I believe they're in method 6.
Yes, please.
So I think that the reassignment and transfer bonus was the only piece that we don't specify in September. For reevaluation and redefining.
And the 2 to 3 special ed teachers, those are openings?
Mhm.
Okay. Do we know what district? Those are
I think
defined,
This
they're
area.
Charlestown.
they
This area.
belong specifically to an area, right? Okay. And then I just have a clarification question for Misty. Because you're the only, well, maybe not, maybe Lori knows. Curious why we're discussing an MOU, MOA in open session. That we had to. So union
This was
contract.
brought, wasn't this brought to them
Yeah, the
originally?
union has agreed to the.
I think that the beginning terms were that, was this brought to you? I'm sorry, I wasn't here a couple of meetings, so my understanding was is that this was brought to you before today to discuss, and then this was the like finalized conversation.
Maybe I missed a meeting.
Am I wrong?
We've had a lot of good questions the first time around, I remember. But that was 2 meetings ago. It was 2 meetings ago, so we've been May, I guess.
If I recall properly, we talked about,
So I thought that, so from a my point of view, I thought that this conversation for the most part had been hashed out already, and that this was the,
Okay. That explains it. I don't recall, when I read it, I don't recall approving a content like that.
I think
I
the
know
only
I
thing
sent
that I
back a lot of
maybe
questions.
changed is that one.
Sent back questions and said, put some numbers behind it. And so
Right.
so we've been working on the numbers in collaboration with the union ever since. But we talked about these 4 pieces conceptually and how they might work.
Yeah, I think we
Process.
talked about it, but I didn't know that the board had actually come to an agreement on the idea.
Yeah, we.
No, I don't think we did.
What I recall is we talked about the problem. The
Right.
fact that we might have to move people around just to stay in compliance with special ed laws.
Right.
And there was never any talk about what we were going to pay for this. But I do remember having the conversation thinking that, well, we've got to do something, and I think you had proposed that, well, we could make it involuntarily moving people if we have to. And I'm like, whoa, that's not gonna help retention at all. But I think that I basically remember talking about most of these bullet points, we didn't get to the dollars.
Right.
I mean, if the board wants to, I mean, it's all out there now, but the board wants to go into non-public. Discuss it further, that's up to
Do we have a copy of I can look it up, but do we have a copy of what the union agreement actually says about involuntary transfers, or is it silent?
That it doesn't specify that there's a dollar amount.
No, it doesn't, right? But I think I may be wrong, because I don't recall, and I think it's changed since I left a long time ago. But usually it's the administration's purview to move people into positions where they need them.
Yeah, that's how.
And, yeah, bullet point 5 says about the, inconsistence with the CBA, all employees shall be, who have been assigned to a different position through an involuntary transfer.
That's
Shall
the
obtain
MOA.
them, yeah, that's in the MOA, but I
But
mean,
that, I wanna know what the original union contract says.
oh, so we need the copy of the CBA, it's gotta be in
Got
there,
it up.
and it's saying it's at Article 8.2, so it should be easy to find.
Says 8.2.
Yeah, it says here, consistent with Article 8.2 of the CBA.
So 8.2 says, okay,
Yes.
teachers shall not be assigned outside the scope of their teacher certification in major or minor field of study except temporarily and for good cause.
Okay.
That does not sound like,
And that's the only section that references.
What
it.
about,
I'm going, I'm
does
reading
it
more.
say anything about moving them from building to building?
So any change after, in assignment after April 15th, and I'm at 8.8 now, shall be considered an involuntary transfer and shall be effected only for cause. And then it goes on to 8.9, when involuntary transfers are effected for a necessary reduction in the school staff allocation due to reduced student enrollments or closing and or consolidation of a building, resignations or leaves of absence, said transfers will be made on the basis of years of service in the district. That teachers in the affected building possessing the least amount of service and applicable certification being transferred first. Such transfer due to resignation or leave of absence shall be for a period not to exceed 1 year. So I'm not sure that that necessarily applies to this situation, but that's the discussion about the involuntary transfers.
Okay,
So I mean, I think that
thank you.
it's understood that it is at administration's direction and to fill the needs. If I'm not mistaken, the conversation has been that it would be for the 1 year period unless somebody chose to stay in there in that reassignment.
Do we know if anybody, if we've done this in the past? If we've had to move people around like this in the past?
And I think there's been discussion about it and
Yes,
this is sort of
I don't
coming
think to
about.
this extent.
not to this extent.
Not to this extent, but there have been people moved, because I know that there was an Ackworth teacher, there was something with Ackworth.
There've been 1 year assignments where people weren't really thrilled or excited about it. But
Well, I
it was,
don't think there would be, but.
it was
but-
cause and need, so
Yeah.
it occurred, and then they were put back. To my knowledge,
Were they within
both.
general or special? I mean, like it crossed over.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think one was mass, one was a possible counselor, could have been a nurse. In the 11 years I was here.
So other school boards have faced this before.
No, it didn't come to us,
Well,
because
okay,
it's administration's purview to move
Yeah.
people. And it wasn't agreed.
Hmm.
So. Just a follow-up question. Just because I don't recall having an in-depth discussion about an MOA or an MOU, whatever we're calling it, MOA. Well, my question just kind of leapfrogged down in my head. Hold on, it will come back. Is this our idea or did the union contact us?
So the union prepared a draft MOA as an outcome of a meeting that we had probably 2 months ago. Sent the draft MOA to us. And we had a number of conversations trying to get to some of these dollar figures, and so we got to the dollar figure that the union MOA is really only addressing reassignment and transfer bonuses,
Yeah.
not any of the
that's what I know.
others.
Yeah,
And so they documented the meeting and sent us a draft MOA, and that had the $2,500 figure in it. So once we sort of focused on what we thought the number would be, I went back to them and said, this is what we're thinking about changing the MOA, and they responded on Friday and said, we're in agreement with this. And so they said,
Upped it?
yeah, we upped it, yes, absolutely. And Matt was at the table for all of those conversations. Yeah. And the reason we upped it is, we just don't think we're gonna get any traction for a $2,500 before tax fee of, a bonus. I don't think any of us see that happening.
And this is for 3 positions that are open.
In special education.
Just for teachers. Yeah.
So if we don't get anybody that moves forward to say, yay, I'll take that. And I'll move into it, that those stay as open positions, or we involuntarily transfer people.
I think we involuntarily transferred them and then they would be eligible for the bonus,
So they're still eligible for the same bonus.
whether it's voluntary or involuntary, what we think.
If we're fortunate and hire new people. But then they wouldn't receive the reassignment transfer bonus, it would just be the signing. Bonus.
Signing.
Was a position.
Oh, right.
I was just gonna ask if there were 2 to 3 people in those positions in other towns, other tenants areas. That we could take from those and put them in another place and then not need to hire for that particular position, like, are they just extra? I'm not understanding why we think we have people that who can just move, or if they're not needed in their building.
They are certified for special ed, but they are not currently also specialized, they're also certified for something else, and they're teaching the something else.
Okay.
So like maybe 5th grade. Math, and they're math educated.
They're not extra position.
They have dual certification. They're not teaching in that certification.
But
So it's not just taking a special ed teacher from one school and putting them in a different.
Right.
So, but wouldn't it? Missing something here. Wouldn't it still be the same thing if you take a math teacher from, if you take a math teacher from Alsted and you move them to Charlestown as a special ed teacher, now you're missing a math teacher in Alsted. And math is one of our, I mean, just,
It's a critical need.
it's a critical need.
That's hypothetical.
Yes.
Right.
Hypothetical.
In the town.
Right, but I mean, or an English teacher, or, science teacher, or whatever, but if you move that person from now you're kind of just moving around the shelves. So I'm not sure how we're fixing the problem by making there be now a space that's short somewhere else.
Yeah, I would think in terms of making those decisions, we'd have to make the best decision we could and avoid the worst unintended consequence. So in your hypothetical, that wouldn't be the first choice of, if we line up those that are certified and could possibly move, that person would probably be low in the pecking order to consider that kind of change. So, I mean,
So if you're looking at like class sizes in, say, and you say, okay, I can move a classroom teacher from this place over to Charlestown. I'm not gonna say it's a town because that could raise feathers, but I'm gonna move a classroom teacher from this town over to this town. And I then can spread those kids out amongst the other classroom teachers of that same grade level.
I think that's the kind of thinking that has to.
That would be the kind of thinking that you'd be looking at.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay, I
Least risk. And what's
Yeah.
the least risk proposition of moving the resource from that place
thanks,
to another to solve
yeah,
a big problem?
right.
Yep, follow-ups. I applaud you for trying to think out of the box to solve a problem. I personally don't like bonuses. I never have. It creates animosity with other employees who feel like they're working just as hard at the job that they do. And so my follow-up question is, if we're gonna give 2 to 3 people a bonus, what happens to all the rest of the special education teachers who are stretched thin and doing the same thing? Have we thought about that? And what if you have 20 people who are certified and they all want to do it? How are we gonna narrow down who gets the job? Is it gonna be by Has that been determined?
Okay, so the discussions that we have had in. I don't believe we have 20, or I mean, I think that's, and I know you're
Just
not
like-
out, but,
Yeah.
I don't think we have that many that are
Dual certified.
dual certified. And the ones that we have had discussions with have said, well, then I'll leave the district. Or broken down in tears and just like, how could you do this to me? And and I know that's a risk, but where we're having a difficult time hiring. If we can incentivize it. So they're making that choice versus an involuntary situation. We thought that that would be easier across the board for staffing and the students. I guess that's not,
No.
even if I didn't say it right.
No,
Um,
I appreciate what you're trying to do.
We haven't talked about, I mean, like, the discussion did come up about the signing bonuses and things like that. The teachers were able to negotiate at a time when they were able to take advantage of ESSER monies, and they have, I think it's $1,700 between the 2 years, or $1,750 between the 2 years that they're getting in addition. That the other parties weren't able to, like the related service people, aren't getting those additional monies. The paras, the support staff, they're not getting those additional monies.
We did
We
offer a
did do,
bonus for them.
we did for the.
At one time. And one
wasn't
teacher's
one
have
time,
a year.
but then the teachers
Oh.
have an additional $1,750 above and
Oh,
beyond everybody else.
okay. I'm sorry, I
So,
forgot.
but that doesn't address or compare to the transfer bonus, so.
I just wanted to be clear that it's not that they weren't,
Oh, right,
we didn't do anything,
right.
it just was.
Right.
I didn't agree with that either.
And I appreciate that we have different points of.
Besides just, you can't sustain things like that.
Jamie, I understand your concern. Is it okay?
Oh, yes.
I'm learning to ask. Sometimes I ask after I raise it. I understand your concern. My question to you then is, you recognize that this is a huge problem. So do you have a suggestion of what we would do, of how to address this issue?
I wish I had a better suggestion. Because something like this, I mean, this is big dollars, okay? And, we've got a budget committee that we're working with, and I don't think we'll be able to sustain this without paying other places.
Right.
And so I wish I had a great answer for why people aren't coming to go to work at Fall Mountain in these jobs. I don't know that answer. I don't, and I don't know that it's as widespread doing bonuses in other school districts. I've not heard that. I could be completely wrong, but. I just think I hate that it can sometimes create animosity. I've seen it happen. Okay, and maybe not for this 1 year because of those other ESSER funded bonuses that are going out that aren't gonna be sustained in the next year out, so their wages are gonna go down, which is not great. So like a 1 year thing, yeah, I get it, but it's hard to take it away, right?
Right.
It's very difficult to take it away, and if you really think we're gonna be in a different situation next year, yeah, yeah, I may not. And I don't know
And
what
this-
the answer is, Sarah,
This is a
because they're
one,
critical, there are critical shortages across the entire country for these kinds of positions, okay?
Yep.
It's not just New Hampshire, it's not just Fall Mountain, and throwing gobs of money at it, it can't be the sustainable answer. I don't know,
and it's not designed to be. I mean,
I understand.
it's 1 year.
That's how it's
try to
written,
make a big move on this and
right?
we'll have to do, we'll have a lot of explaining to do next year. If we don't do the same thing. I think we have to be clear that this is a 1 year approach. And if we're successful and we, we get better staff from a special ed standpoint, then, that lowers the burden perhaps on some other special ed teachers. I think it helps the entire situation, but we're running a risk. We're running a risk that at the end of this, that the teacher goes back and says, well, this was my 1 year gig, I'm pocketing my $5,000. I'm going back to what I was doing. That's a risk. It solves a problem, solves a long-term problem in a short-term way, which I think is your point.
The Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid.
It is, but in this environment we're in, it might just give us enough breathing room to discover another process or have more conversation with the people who are in the classroom and find out what it is that they need or what else we can adjust. Maybe it is other methods of consolidation and things like that. It just gives
Right.
us the room to get to those conversations. Kevin?
Yeah, so in actuality, it's not a 1 year project. This is a 2 month project. It's all has to
Right,
happen.
correct.
So,
With a 1 year impact.
It's a 1 year.
1 year impact, yeah.
but
Uh,
we will very quickly gather data to the referral program work, right? Which then gives us information to go to the budget committee, when the administration goes to the budget committee, did this work for them or not? I don't particularly see that 2 months is going to really
Right.
open all kinds of, there's all going to be filled in 2 months. So I think we're on the hook for way less money than the whole 26 people. So I'm in favor of it, as long as we gather data and we get some good data out of it as to what worked, what didn't work, how many positions did we fill?
Mhm.
Maybe part of the onboarding process was the signing bonus a factor for you coming to work and have coffee? And then we'll know whether it, was it something that got people in the door or was it not? Because I think that's really important information for us to have. I'm very concerned about the involuntary transfers. I'm just concerned that people are gonna say, nope, I can go work anywhere else. There's all kinds of positions open everywhere. See you later. I'm very concerned about the involuntary.
Yes, because this is not a problem that only Fall Mountain's happening.
Right.
Well, I understand.
Right.
that,
I
but,
agree with you.
If you involuntary transferred me from what I do, my administration came to me and said, he's not teaching music now, maybe I'm just simply on that one, but, I would say, I probably say, no, I can find other jobs somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't, that's not what I signed on to, that's not what I'm comfortable doing, that's not what I do. So I'm very concerned about that route. And that should be our last route of the last resort.
I think it is, but in all honesty, I think this shows that in good faith, it's not something we want to do, like that we have such a value on that position and that person's skills that we want to pay for it, like we want them to feel valued for that. And yet still meet our obligations for these students who need us. We need that classroom attention, so it's definitely a rock in a hard place, and I really do hope that our teachers and staff see that we're working really hard to do right by everyone by talking about these things.
On the retention bonuses, do we have numbers on that? Because you're saying 1,500 for each contracted related services staff, because the ones up here are openings, right? Not
Right.
present employees. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, that's,
Jenny, while she's looking for information, do you have any questions or anything you want to add?
so we've lost several of our related service positions
Yeah.
that aren't filled at this time, so, you think we have
I think
five?
it's in the, 5, there's no more than 7 that are still here. We have
In the also begs the question, what do we have left in ESSER before September first? It needs to be documented.
So we are still working on that, but we have more than sufficient funds to cover this. So as far as is the retention bonuses, we're looking at, maybe 10 grand. And the 11 grand.
We'll do very little in referral bonuses in the next 2 months, is to kind of get a placeholder out there. I mean, that's really the nature of what that is. The signing bonuses, I think, is I think we've been actually conservative about that. I know other districts are paying $5,000 signing bonuses for special ed teachers, so we've tried to be conservative there, and maybe we're.
Who are they?
I know
When we
Keenan,
say other districts,
I know Keenan is. I
Keenan
don't
was
know.
one, had a couple that I talked about at the prior meeting. Find that, but there were more.
so referral bonuses will have to come out of the regular budget, right?
Post September 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Greenfield, and in Keene were the two that I had back at that point. And my guess is that since that time, others are doing it too. And I don't know how much success Keene has had. They're still doing it.
I know that talking to people in other industries, fire departments, hospitals, police departments, they're all doing the
Transportation.
same thing. And it's working both ways. They're gaining people because of referral bonuses, or they're losing them because they're not offering them. And so I think it's probably not just this industry that's going in that direction.
So what we originally proposed were the reassignment and transfer bonuses, which was a much lower number, right? It was, the union number is 25, but those are the numbers we were talking about.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest is we would need to do something, at least what we would be doing for a signing bonus for that position. So if the number is too big, then let's consider a smaller number.
Does anybody want to make that change? I'm looking to move forward with that.
I'm okay with what you've got here.
I think it's a slippery slope and it's gonna backfire. Because other people who aren't getting them that large. Who are already in the positions and who are doing their work every single day. I just think it's. I have a hard time with these types of things. I do. But that's my personal opinion and everybody can vote their conscience.
Yeah, I'd just say, when we ran this by the increase in the amount by the union, I was expecting some pushback for that very reason. And didn't get it and thought that was interesting.
Did you have the entire union membership there or just no, 4 people at the table?
Yeah, leaders, well, it was circulated.
Dues
That
paying
leadership.
members.
Right.
Personally, I see it as a very specific position. And I think it warrants that kind of a dollar amount. And I think in order to respect other people in that position, we have the retention bonuses in order to soften that.
Retention bonus is only for related services.
I thought that also included,
No, does not include the,
No, and they weren't doing that because of the 1750 that everybody was already getting. Right?
I don't know if it's
This
why
one's
we were doing it,
We
but,
consider-
but.
It was
they-
considered
Yeah,
when the
and,
discussion was had.
and when we had the discussion with the union, they understood that, okay, so they're
Mhm.
getting that already, so.
And when Xander came to speak to us, sorry, asked for permission to speak. Her concern was specifically for this location, this area. Or wasn't it just, it wasn't district wide? Her concern about burnout, and weren't we were paying people additional monies, correct, who were already in the jobs?
For those that had a caseload in excess of.
In excess,
Yeah, right.
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 Are we continuing that into the next year? Okay. So maybe they were just covering for these open positions?
Yeah, that is a big part of the reason. And so the thought is that if we can fill those positions, it will ease the load on,
Everybody else?
right.
So do we need a motion to move forward on this, or is this just a discussion?
It's under the action agenda. Under the action agenda, that says the proposal for the strategy plan.
Okay,
And then once you approve it, and then it's having a vote.
We'll make a motion to move that up with the agenda and prepare it with them.
sure. We'll make a motion to amend the agenda to move the action agenda item above the update information.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And I don't believe we have anybody online. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. At this time, I will accept a motion to accept the proposed recruitment strategy and plan if someone is so.
Does that include the MOA?
Yeah, you have to be specific about this because it's part of a union contract.
Yeah.
It probably should maybe be voted separately from the rest of the strategy.
Anything too? I'll make a motion to approve the recruitment strategy plan. We're gonna do this.
You can do,
Let's do the MOA first. and then
I
let's do
think
the
you're
MOA.
okay. I would do your strategy plan first because it's part, this comes after that,
Okay.
ratified.
Because it's part, the MOA is part of that, you know.
Yeah.
So, make a motion to accept the strategy, a recruitment strategy and plan.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second it.
Any discussion? Well, at this point, would anybody like to add any other additional thoughts?
My only thought is I hope this works.
Yeah.
And if it does, then we've got to figure out how to get it into the real budget or, you know, into our operating budget so that we can continue to do this. And if it doesn't work, well, that's good data too. Have to come up with another strategy.
I think that the gathering of data, as Kevin was saying, is really, really important, so that we're able to make a solid decision.
This allows us to do something, see how it works. With fortunately, without taxpayer, well, they are taxpayer dollars. They're federal taxpayer dollars, so somebody in Mississippi, I like to think of somebody in Mississippi. paying for this.
All right, so all in favor?
All right.
Opposed?
No. And it's not because I don't hope
No,
that
we
it
get it.
works.
Understood.
Yeah, we get it.
If you want to limit it, you're welcome to make
No,
your.
it's good. I would have abstained, but then I get called a coward for not taking a stand, so.
Nobody. At least I would.
I would never call you a coward.
I think it was 3-1.
Thanks.
Or,
Four. Oh, there's a,
Well, I.
oh, there's four of us. There's
Joe gets
four of us. I can't even add. Jeez.
Doesn't have to go,
Well,
but you just.
choice there, so. yes.
Do you now need a motion to approve the,
Yeah,
Yeah, boy.
so make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Fall Mountain Teacher Association and the Fall Mountain School
I'll second that.
related to.
yeah,
sorry,
specific
related
to recruitment and retention.
Yeah, mhm.
involuntary transfers.
Okay, I'll second that whole thing.
I just wanted to make sure that that MOA does say that it's just for this year.
Yes.
it does.
Okay, because it's tough to get back here.
2025 school. year.
Yeah, it says right there, 2024, 2025 school year.
Under number two.
Does anybody have any discussion or questions regarding? I didn't get the second, I'm sorry. Joe. Thank you.
They don't normally second it.
This agreement shows that no precedent or established best practice should only be used. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All in favor? Opposed?
No.
So the motion passes. 4-1. Thank you all very much. Thank you for putting that together, Bill and Lori. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate the questions.
All right. Can we get an update on the letter that was sent to the Walpole regarding the program?
So we sent it to them on the, I think the 20 or something. I thought we were going to send it to everybody.
I believe we sent it to the other township.
We did not send it to you, we responded to Walpole. Oh, okay, we had done. Maybe sent it the 26th.
So has she been waiting? I kept checking to see if she sent it.
The link still says that I am waiting on the host to start the meeting.
You posting
I did, yeah. Oh, you know what? I wonder if the link on the agenda is different. Did you send me a different link than what we usually use?
It wasn't on the website originally, and it wasn't in under the.
Did you create it? Okay, so I had one.
Beautiful.
That was still gone. We usually use that. Probably the confusion. She's probably on the agenda. Okay, yeah,
Send her the.
I will, yeah. She's on the link that's on the agenda. There's another link.
Okay, so, we drafted a letter that was reviewed and Alyssa signed it on behalf of the board and it was sent to Walpole. As we had discussed previously, the cumulative effect for the 5 years that I reviewed was that Ackworth and Alsted were under budgeted and Charleston, Langdon and Walpole were over budgeted. We have not received an official response yet from Walpole, I imagine because it was the holidays last week, so. We did see in the Walpolean that they acknowledged receipt of the report.
Okay.
See somebody thinking. Give a pause.
Ask a question.
No, I honestly thought we were gonna send it, I know, we discussed it both ways, sending it to everybody or just sending it to Walpole.
I remember that too.
Yeah, okay, and so I don't remember. I don't know, maybe it was at the advice of somebody smarter than I am to just send it to Walpole.
My understanding was that we were responding to their
Okay,
request
to
and
their-
providing information.
Okay.
I'd be more than happy to send it to
Well, I'm
all of the
curious,
other.
I don't remember, did we make a decision about or did we discuss the decision with our attorney about what to do with the data that we now have?
The attorney's advice, and cue me up if I'm stepping a line here. The council was to provide the information.
Answer, okay, got it,
So that they requested information, we have provided the information,
okay,
and
that's good,
that was the council.
thank you.
Okay. What this exercise reinforced for me is that, I mean, as we know, we budget 18 months, there's an 18-month spread between when we start the budget process and when we end the, corresponding school year. And lots of things happen during that time period. So by comparing the budget to how we utilized our resources, again, taking a snapshot at the end of the year, this is the data that I came up with. Changes occur, needs change. And so the communities aren't always impacted appropriately for how we've utilized our resources. I know I've discussed it before, we don't have a policy on budget transfers, and so there are those that would say, you don't give me any guidance, I'm gonna do whatever I want, because it doesn't say I can't. I take a more conservative approach, and that I would prefer guidance and parameters to act. So then I know I have the support behind me for what I'm doing. So what I would like to know, what I'm recommending is that before we submit an apportionment schedule to the DRA in the fall, I would like the ability to, or permission to adjust my budgets to reflect where my people are working.
Yeah.
So like we just went through a budget process. I already know that we've had people that have left positions or have transferred into other positions. And we're trying to incentivize more of that. So I already know that there are some changes that aren't gonna be reflected in the community's apportionment if we don't make those changes in the budget.
Yeah.
So I would like I would like the permission, I don't wanna go through the work if I don't have the back and support of the board to do this. If I have your support, then I need to work on this, and as part of wrapping up the DOE 25 and the annual reporting process, I would need to have this information compiled to present to you for approval, so you know what's going on. And then that would be built into my apportionment schedule that is submitted once the DOE 25 is approved. So while the DOE 25 itself doesn't directly impact the tax rate setting process, the process and flow of data does impact it. So what this would mean is that the DOE 25 would not be submitted by September 1st, because we would need some additional data to make these adjustments. So it would be closer to October 1st. So we would need to discuss it again in a September board meeting, that, you approve the proposed budget changes and provide the, substantiating data for that. And then we could go forward from there.
So that also means we approve the extension as, we know we're gonna need an extension to file because it's due to the person.
Will they allow us to continue filing for extensions year after year after year? I thought it was.
I think they will allow me another year.
Yeah, I'm just saying if the timing on it.
And I'm only proposing one extension.
Gotcha, okay.
Well, one extension,
Well,
but
one
every
extension
year
to
going
October
forward.
1st. Well, yes, I could explain it to them and see if, they would understand. I mean, if I request the extension based on like, I want audited numbers, they're gonna push back and say, but it's not necessary to have audited numbers. If I request the extension, that because of the complexity of our apportionment schedule and impact to our communities, we are revising or I don't want to tell them I'm revising the budget. We're making sure that we account for any shifts in personnel and how they'll, impact the communities. I have to work on the wording, but I think that if we tie it into the apportionment, I think that they would agree with that.
You will probably meet some understanding at the state.
So I have a question because I'm confused. So you're talking about closing a fiscal year and then truing up that fiscal year to make changes going into the next year?
I'm truing up the budget for going into the next year. And the reason I'm tying it into my annual reporting is because you know that once the annual report is approved, the next step is immediately, we need your apportionment before we can send this to the DRA and we can set taxes.
Well, right, because of the surplus that comes off of it.
Right, but if I am truing up the budget, that factors into the apportionment as well. And the DRA doesn't care if I'm
Yeah, but it
moving
doesn't-
between locations, they only care if there's movement between functions.
I thought you would true up for what you know to be, for the changes you know for the year you're in. You're talking about truing up coming off of a prior year into the next one? Or for the year you're in? I'm trying to follow,
So the year that I am in.
which is 24, 25.
25, I'm
yeah.
truing up the budget to how we're using the people, and that is the apportionment. That
Correct.
drives the apportionment,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
that has to be submitted right after you complete your DOE 25. So I'm saying it is process, I mean, like the data doesn't,
Yeah, the DOE
Necessarily.
25 won't drive the data.
exactly,
Okay,
exactly.
you're just saying the
The
date, the
process,
data, the timing.
the timing, yes.
Okay.
The process and the timing.
Okay,
I
gotcha.
need to be able to hand over the apportionment schedule as soon as I have my approved DOE
Gotcha.
25.
Okay.
Um,
I don't think the DRA is that fast that you have to worry about it, but. Either way.
One clarification question and one, clarification question. So this would be like if that position in Sarah Porter was not filled. That's where you would make those adjustments and take that out of the direct expense for like that one teacher.
If we were going to continue to hold that position open and provide all the courses and services, the classes in Sarah Porter, I would think that that would need to stay in the budget. If we are saying we can't fill it, we're not gonna try to fill it, then I think it would, but then where does it go in the budget?
Exactly,
Because
you
it's not a
can't-
transfer from one area to another.
You can't
I
just
can't
move money
eliminate it.
around. You can't eliminate and move.
I can't eliminate it. I can only show the movement.
So this, my clarification question then would be, if we approve this, extension, we're gonna still get that apportionment, or whatever it's called, to the state well before we did it this last year.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I have never, ever filed anything
Okay, I just want to make sure the towns have,
so late.
I want to make sure the towns have their money, they're
Yes.
accounting much earlier than we did last
Oh,
year.
absolutely.
So
I do
the goal
too.
is October 1st.
I do too. That's my goal. Yeah.
Goes October.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is still, I know that the deadline is September 1st, October 1st is still well within line to meet requirements or reasonableness for towns to set their tax rates.
Okay,
I think, Jamie, would you agree with that?
No, I don't know, is that we need a motion to approve this, but
Just a follow-up question. I agree with the concept. I think you wanna just talk it through. And I don't know who you talk it through with, but you can try talking it. Well, I just wanna be sure that whatever information we send out based on, it says projections. So those are always subject to change,
Mhm.
right, for the towns. But I would wanna think it through, cause the bottom line of that budget has to
stay
stay,
the same.
right?
Right.
So like if something's occurring, and I've been sitting here trying to think through like what could happen, like what we saw happen. But we wouldn't have necessarily known all that until the end of the fiscal year,
Mhm.
which is something we had talked about truing up the next year out. But I almost think, depending on which lawyer you ask, that might require a change in the article about how the methods are treated. I'm not
And,
sure.
right, so there's still, if I'm truing the budget up between March and, well, it's really October and
Right.
October. There's still activity that can happen between October and June.
Correct. I know.
But I think that
I know.
if I'm showing that we're truing it up for the beginning and start of the school year, that
It should capture most of it.
it should capture most of
Right,
it.
it's gonna
I think it's
gonna
a
catch
good
a lot of
faith
it.
effort to
Yeah,
to be true to all of the
Yeah.
communities.
Yeah,
and transparent.
and that's the time to do it, is
Right.
right before you set the tax rate, so I don't disagree with you.
So in talking it through, you know, I've had to conceptualize, okay, well, somebody quit and we fill the position with somebody else. That doesn't matter. That budget stays
Correct,
set.
up or down.
Yeah, it just doesn't matter. So it's only going to be addressing positions that move from one location to another.
Or
purpose. Right, or purpose, like if you have a inclusionary aid that goes to a one-to-one aid that can be charged directly back.
Yes, but so where I'm going to run into questions is if you're going from one function to another. So if you have somebody going from general ed into special ed, if I move that for apportionment purposes,
I don't think,
I need to do something with the DRA, don't I? Because then it doesn't agree with my budget.
I don't think you'd have to, I don't think you have to, because the board has the right to transfer across codes.
Yeah, true, okay. Yeah, all right, so anyway, so I would like to work on, you know, I would appreciate when the policy committee is meeting to work on that. A policy with parameters for what, the superintendent or I, as a designee, can do, on our own. It would need to be reported out. You know, there are examples out there, I think, that I've provided a couple. Yeah, I think I grabbed yours, just one of them.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's my ask for you, but if there's an appetite for it, if I could just at least get a thumbs up, then I will go move forward with this.
I think
So I
so,
don't think we need a motion, but how about a straw poll? Are we
yeah.
all or in support of
Yes.
this action
Comes
moving
back to
forward?
us at some point.
Yeah.
The council comes back to us at some point.
Yeah.
I'm aware of it.
Well, yeah, it would have to come back to you, like, with the full schedule, you know, how it flows. And a report about who I moved and.
Well, I am
Right, that's
100% in
what we
support personally of making it as clear for the attendance areas as possible. So.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Just one follow-up on the LEAP question.
Mhm.
We've updated the procedures so that we now won't have this problem in the future about making sure people are being charged to the right.
Let's just talk
So
about.
if that's what this is, so
This came out of.
when the budget occurs, I have no reason to question the budgeting and how it happened, that there was anything wrong with how it happened. How we used the people didn't align with how we budgeted, and so that's what I'm trying to address to the best of my capability. Well, I don't even think it's up to my capability, it's I'm trying to address it in the best way that our framework allows.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I'm sure that Lori's now had the opportunity. I think part of that came about because of the change in personnel with kind of like this, right? So I'm sure that with HR and finance, right, has had the chance to speak to the special ed director to say, hey, you know, if something like this occurs, we need to know. Yeah.
Yes, we are working on that,
Yeah.
and because the administrators have been very clear with them as well, that
Yeah, so
if
it's
you
just,
don't communicate to us, we cannot make the appropriate changes, and then we're responding to the community.
right, yeah, so it's a process.
well, I appreciate the amount of work that you put in so far and how much it's going to be in September to do this, but I think it's absolutely appreciated in the community, so. Thank you. All right, does anybody have any other comments on such topic? Go ahead.
Not this topic, I just have one other thing that I wanna like toss out there.
Okay.
Okay, so as you know, we have purchased new curriculum, so we have volumes of curriculum coming in. We've figured out that we have, our best estimate is that we have the equivalent of 2 full-size semi-truck trailers full of materials to dispose of. We've reached out to our, yes, we've reached out to our peers, both Kristen and myself, to try to get ideas of where could we dispose of this. We've reached out to Claremont Christian Academy because they had expressed some interest in some of the materials that were at North Charlestown Community School. We're not hearing back from anyone. I know that there are opportunities to ship to Africa I'm concerned about the cost of shipping that equivalent.
Yeah.
So we're going to continue to seek solutions, like I need to try to figure out how much of it could be potentially recycled. And if there's any value there, but at some point, we need to get those materials out of the building because they're bringing new materials in. And right now, the custodians are just moving piles around because they need to clean and prep rooms. So I would like to put out there that if we, we wait until about August 9th, that's about a month. And if we don't have any solutions, we're gonna toss everything into dumpsters and pay to haul the dumpsters off. So it's gonna cost us to dispose of in some way or another. But I think that that's going to be less costly than, shipping containers to Africa.
Yes.
So I would say before we throw it in dumpsters, we reach out to our recycling centers.
Yes, yes.
Walpole, Charlestown, Alstead, they're all very active recyclers for paper.
Yeah.
So, and they might even have, it might even be a great community service project for kids or other adults that are trying to do whatever, to come and break the binders off that can't be recycled or whatever and put all the paper into, containers that can be recycled.
Mhm.
I'm sure that the recycling centers would work with us. Other than that, maybe just, buy an ad somewhere, I don't know, to say, hey, cause any nonprofit, you can donate it to any nonprofit. Just put it out there, I know there's a lot of stuff there, like anybody, but you tell them you gotta come get it or pay to ship it. We're not gonna do that.
Where would you put the ad out?
I'm gonna say, what about,
There are great programs in other states and,
yeah, like what about district administrator, or isn't it called the?
oh, yeah, okay.
Or what's the other one for? Can't think of it. It's on my superintendent's desk and I can't think of it. What's that? Ed Week, yeah, probably Ed Week. They might let you, if you're donating, they might let you do those for free.
Okay.
If they don't, we may have a subscription. I don't remember.
Okay, thank you for those suggestions.
Yeah.
We want to give it some time.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to still just pursue
Yeah.
other options.
People using it, yeah.
But the reality is that we might get to that point where it
Just
just
don't have
doesn't
more
go.
time.
Yeah, well, it's a hard time of year because offices are
Yeah, shut down.
shut down.
And have all of our employees and staff had an opportunity to look at these materials and see if they can be incorporated in their classrooms?
They're in their classrooms now, but we're
Already.
bringing in the new curriculums.
Well, I know we have the new program materials, I just, maybe some of them could be other library materials or something like that, that even if it isn't a day-to-day use, they still might have some value,
Mhm.
percenters or any of those kind of things, so I just wanna make
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
that they get an
I'll-
opportunity
I'll talk to Kristen.
to have first pick. Any other thoughts on that?
We just,
Some teachers might want them to take home and have as
Mhm.
backup materials too, so I'm sure we put a notice out to the teachers.
what's that?
I've got.
Sarah said door stops.
That's funny.
Yeah. They make some really cool artwork out of book pages.
So something like, I know that there are homeschools, I know there are charters.
They have with a Department of Ed, like their home education, like coalition, they might be.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
to reach out to.
yeah.
yeah. Like, absolutely.
So these, yes, so
Anybody, really, put it out there.
I'm just trying to figure out how to efficiently put it out there because I can't sit by the phone and call
No, I
all
know.
of our charters and all of our.
Yeah, no, don't call,
Well,
just,
there's, I know there used to be a charter organization for our area that. I'm not sure,
probably the state.
used to know how to get a hold of that, but.
Okay.
One of the ladies at the state. probably.
All right, so let's move on to our 24-25 school board schedule. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at what Misty put together?
Yeah, this is just a draft, kind of based on, our based on our typical schedule. The Mondays that fell on holidays, I moved to Tuesdays. I know that that took some folks by surprise this year, but historically, there are some years where it doesn't work out that it's an issue. But that's historically how we've done it. I'm certainly open to, other options, but if it fell on a holiday, I just moved it to the next day. And of course, depending on any suggestions that come out of the budget committee and their schedule, if we need to add any more. But I just built in what we have in place right now, according to our draft budget. Any additional meetings? Yeah.
So at the bottom where it says school board meetings, there's one that's scheduled for August 11th. That's a Sunday,
Is it really?
and it's not blue on or whatever
I
color
don't
that
know
is.
why that's there,
on the
so we can
calendar.
just,
So I'm not sure if there's.
oh, you know what it
supposed to be
is?
the 12th or
It's
not.
the 12th. It's the 12th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one you added. Yeah, so I'll fix that. And while we're here, can we confirm that we do in fact want and need to meet that day and that we'll have a forum? So that everybody's. I don't think Shelley will. When? On August 12th.
Hopefully,
And does this mean that we will not have a meeting on July 22nd?
We will not have a meeting on July 22nd.
Okay.
we need to stop paving I-91 southbound.
So August 12th would be for goal setting.
Jenny said she will be out of town.
Okay, hi Jenny.
Take it out of there.
Oh, Sarah, Sarah's, I think it's.
That's Kristen. Oh, it is Kristen.
Oh, it's about Kristen. So, yeah, I'll just keep adding this kind of to our stuff and we can this was just a first look so that people could get some stuff on their calendars and we can start here. That sounds good. So that one would be in lieu of doing a Saturday kind of retreat this year. There just doesn't seem to be quite enough time this year. So that meeting would be, if I'm recalling, goal setting, just setting us up to go forward. Running start in September.
August 12th,
Mhm.
maybe not here, be here.
Yeah, so it would not be any sort of
Okay.
retreat though. Anybody's welcome to come sit in the meeting.
Will we need technology that day or will be just a work session?
I think it'll be just a work session. Everybody else available at this point, Gina?
Not on August 12th.
Yeah,
That's a nice weekend, but it's off, but.
yeah, I need the 19th, so I can't do it, yeah.
I do have communication from the budget committee to share.
Okay, then I think we're good with the meeting schedule. Please do.
As I fell down on the job, I found my notes. So the budget committee was supposed to have a meeting on June 26th, but it was canceled because we had some conflicts with schedules. So coming out of our last meeting, which would have been May 29th, there was a couple of action communication items to be carried to the board. I might have said these, but I'll just say them again, just in case I missed it. So the budget committee, I think, is going to be potentially changing their meeting date to the third Wednesday in order to meet in between. We haven't taken a formal action on that, in order to be between the school board's two meetings. So that hopefully that will make the flow of information quicker or easier, right? Because if it's shared here and then it can go to the budget committee, then if they have a follow-up, it can come back to the next meeting. Then tonight, we talked about a budget transfer policy, which they asked about whether there was gonna be movement on that or a change to that, so I can report back that we are gonna work on that. I'll pull down a couple of them for you, because I think there's a few, yeah. And ours will have to be tweaked a little bit, because we have the only ones with that kind of formula. And then see. I think I was supposed to ask, and Lori, you probably done it 6 times and it's sitting out there in some file that I can't get to.
With the data.
Yeah, just
I know, I need to
now,
do that
now
too,
that you've
yeah.
got through 6:30, because they wanna
Yeah.
just take a look at where we ended.
Yeah.
They asked if you can, I don't
Mhm.
know, I think you can, I don't know, cause I don't know how that one's set up, I don't remember. If you could just run the the whole fiscal year by line item. And if we can show budget transfers, that's cool. I think it will, I'm not sure. There is a module
think-
somewhere
Yeah,
that,
no, I think it does, but I didn't,
right,
I think that there were a handful of budget transfers,
Okay,
and then
there
I
wasn't a lot.
realized that I don't have permission to do it, and I
Oh,
stopped. Because
Okay.
we told everybody, no,
okay,
the direction is to overspend, so.
okay.
I would much rather not overspend and use the controls in the system
Okay,
to
yeah,
protect the budget.
Yeah.
It's,
instead of having to keep track of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the different lines.
so, but, so that report, I think that when I can generate a report, but when I export it into Excel, I'm not sure if it retains that.
If it will retain it,
And,
okay,
and the problem was is that the budget was set up as an adjustment, I think, so it shows in the adjustment
Oh,
column instead
okay.
of the budget
so it'll
column.
marry it together.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, so I'm not gonna be.
It
working
wasn't
on that.
imported as a, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so send us
Okay.
whatever you think,
Okay.
that just shows budgeted and then expenditure and then balance, whatever.
Mhm,
Thank you, I appreciate that, cause we'll use that
mhm.
at our next meeting, I think they're gonna use that as a starting point to just see, even though you didn't build it, and
Mhm.
obviously, the data will change for the next year out, but. I think that was it. We had a really good meeting, I think. Everybody was there except for maybe Jennifer, who's gonna be rejoining us, so that'll be good. And we went through, all the data that we had talked about in the prior month. So, we're working on some things. We're working on our calendar, I believe, if I can share this, to try to merge ours into yours. Or, make sure that it complements it. And about communication streams and making set SOPs like, so that as people come on to the budget committee, they have like a book that tells them like what our job is and what all that stuff. So we're trying.
Stands for.
Standards,
operating
operating procedures. Yeah, so that they know why they're there, and then they have a list of stuff that they can look at as just a review of what we're using for tools. So everybody, we have like little subcommittees that are working on stuff. So. What we're doing, thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, do we have a treasurer's report that you need approved?
I didn't bring it because it wasn't on the agenda. Was it on the agenda? I didn't see the agenda, so
Okay.
I didn't think it was on the agenda. I'm sorry. Yeah, I have them in my office.
No worries.
No. All right. Anything else needs to come before this board before we move into non.
Me too, yeah, I was gonna motion to adjourn. Okay.
I have to go to the bathroom.
Okay, then,
Motion to move into non-public.
Second.
Missed to discuss a student issue.
Okay. So what's the little number? Okay. That wasn't it. Okay, was it? Okay. Better get.
Consideration.
Okay. I thought you were saying, okay.
so we're, motion is to move into non-public for. Okay,
It's very long, but.
do I have a second?
Second.
Jenny, can you hear us?
Yes. Jenny, yes.
Want to say yes? Yes. Thank you very much. Yes, please, can you listen to me?